What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. So I'm a couple days late on this. As you guys know from my previous video, I mentioned that I was working both Friday and Saturday, so I wasn't able to do any videos on either of those 2 days as I got home super late. I'll admit, Friday night I did try and get at least a video up. I was having some computer troubles, so I just figured I'll just wait until today and I'll recap, obviously, our first round pick and then our second round pick and then our third round pick and then 5 through 7. So expect those videos to come out a little later today. But in this one, we're talking about the Canucks using their first round pick. Obviously, there was a lot of speculation over the last several weeks on whether or not the Canucks were going to use it or the fact that they were going to trade it in order to try and get a second line center. Obviously, they ended up using the pick, which initially, or I should say, which surprised me, as I thought for sure they were going to trade it. And then obviously, while the closer and closer we got to the pick, obviously it was a basic realization, or not basic, but it was pretty much, a given that they were going to use it, as we'll discuss later on in this video. But first, I want to quickly give a shout out to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there behind me. Go ahead, check him out, GassyJackArt.com. He still has his end of season sale going on where you can get 4 prints. 2 of them will be for free. So go ahead, check him out, GassyJackArt.com. You can also check him out on Instagram at GassyJackArt. So let's go ahead and dive into the Canucks using their 15th overall pick and selecting Braeden Cootes, somebody who we spoke about on this channel a little while back. I did my little series on potential 15th overall draft options, and Braeden Cootes was one of those options. So yeah, you guys can check that video out if you wish. You can find that right here, or you can also wait till the end of this video and I'll have it as part of the at the very end. So we're going to talk about Braeden Cootes, and we're going to go over a couple of articles. Obviously the first one being, talking about them selecting Cootes. And then also we're going to talk about what the Canucks are getting in Braeden Cootes as well. So we're going to start off with the first article, of course, brought to us by our friends at Canucks Army, written by our friend of the show, David Quadrelli, and he just goes on to, talk about the fact that the Canucks have selected Braeden Cootes. He goes on to say, first round of the NHL draft moves slower than perhaps any of us could have imagined. And yeah, he's got a point. I absolutely hope they do not do a draft like that ever again. I thought that was absolutely absurd. It took an hour just to get the first 5 picks announced. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous, but let's go ahead and continue. But eventually, the Vancouver Canucks made their pick at 15th overall. With their lone first-round pick, the club sent out Michael Samuelsson, who announced their selection of center Braeden Cootes. Here's what Daily Faceoff's Stephen Ellis wrote about Cootes in his final mock draft of the year. Few forwards in this draft class get the puck as often as Cootes. He's relentless with a non-stop motor, and he showed that in spades at the U18 World Championship. Cootes is also a solid playmaker, often easily finding teammates in open space. I think his value goes far beyond his numbers, which you want from his center. He's not small at 6 foot, but he's not huge either. That doesn't seem to hurt him, though, because he's not afraid to play with an edge. Now, of course, Dave Hall also wrote about Cootes as a potential option for the Canucks, which we went over in that video that I pointed out to you guys. You guys can still go ahead and check out. Here's just some of what he said. The Alberta native checks all the right boxes the Canucks could hope for in a prospect Known for his relentless work ethic, he's the kind of player who leaves it all on the ice, earning a reputation as a heart and soul type with leadership potential written all over him. He's a tireless competitor on the ice, providing a real Energizer Bunny brand with his nonstop motor. He's a responsible all situations right shot pivot who thrives in all three zones, bringing a pest-like forecheck that wears down opponents. While he may not deliver bone-crushing hits, his constant pressure and volume of engagement make him a nightmare to play against. He forces defenders to constantly swivel, overthinking each time they skate toward the corners. Cootes tallied 26 goals and 37 assists through 60 games with the Seattle Thunderbirds this past season. And that is all for that article. Just a brief little, summary of Braeden Cootes. But let's move over to the next article, which really gets into what the Vancouver Canucks are getting in Braeden Cootes. This one is written by Dave Hall. And he goes on to say, after all the swirling rumors, the Vancouver Canucks stepped up, or shall we say, called in to make the 15th overall pick after all. With the selection, they took Braeden Cootes, a member of the Seattle Thunderbirds and a Sherwood Park, Alberta native. If you've been keeping tabs, the club has been tied to the player in recent weeks, so the fit doesn't come as a huge surprise. And I'll just go ahead and say, out of anyone in this draft, obviously my money was on Braeden Cootes. And as what Dave Hall just said, it shouldn't come as a huge surprise. Keep in mind, Braeden Cootes was also the one that Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford took out for dinner. They're the only player that they really spoke to. And Patrick Allvin himself went on to say that they had been watching Cootes all year long, and they seemed to be dead set on choosing Braeden Cootes. They were his target, or he was their target rather, and it's no surprise that they took him in this draft. Obviously, some people were thinking, oh, maybe they'll pick Victor Eklund because he's a Swede, and Eklund actually dropped in the draft. He was actually supposed to be drafted around the 8th overall. He ended up getting picked right after Braeden Cootes by, I believe it was the New York Islanders, if I'm not mistaken. So that was very surprising to see, but obviously them drafting Cootes was not surprising at all. Now, while at the NHL Combine in Buffalo, it was reported that the Canucks representatives took him out for dinner, and it's been reported that the club has been very high on his talents. Goes on to show a tweet from the Vancouver Canucks X account, and it's a quote from Braeden Cootes himself saying, "I couldn't be happier to go there. I'm so excited." But now an official member of the organization's depth chart, we're confident that you have one crucial question. What are we getting here? If you've heard the term Swiss Army knife, Pius Suter, Cootes matches that description to a T. While he may not deliver elite-level offensive talents, he brings it all to each shift and offers a game that fans can truly resonate with. Tabbed as a tenacious two-way center, he brings a relentless work ethic, leadership, and a versatile skill set that aligns well with many of the team's desperate needs. And goes on to quote Patrick Allvin in the official team press release, "We are so pleased to bring in a player of this quality and character into our organization," said Patrick Allvin in the team's press release. Braeden is a strong competitor and has proven to be a good leader as well in the Western Hockey League. He profiles as a solid playmaker and has a good motor, and we really like the way Braeden leaves it all on the ice. Our group is really excited to see him continue to develop in the years to come. He may not carry the most tantalizing and gaudy point totals, but that doesn't tell the whole story with Cootes. What he brings to the game doesn't grow on trees, and his impact on the ice is undeniable, extending to all three zones. At 6 foot, 185 pounds, this right shot center combines a high energy approach with a mature team-first mentality. As the youngest captain in the WHL during the 2024-2025 season, Cootes led a rebuilding Seattle Thunderbirds squad through a challenging campaign. That leadership bled onto the international stage, where he donned the C for Team Canada at the most recent U18 World Championship. There, he led the team to a gold medal and finished tops with 12 points in 7 games. That's over fellow first-round draftees such as Brady Martin, Cole Reshney, Benjamin Kindell, and Jack Nesbitt. He also claimed the tournament's top faceoff percentage, winning 71.79% of his draws throughout the tournament. Cootes is a prototypical hate to play him, love to have him type player, defined by a never stop motor. He treats every shift like it is his last, and disrupts opponents with an incredible forecheck and continuous battle on the ice. He hounds puck carriers, disrupts breakouts, and wins battles in the corners, often emerging with possession through sheer determination. The way that he plays, you'd never imagine that he only compiled 34 penalty minutes through 124 WHL games over the last 2 seasons. In 2024-2025, he led Seattle with 63 points, 26 goals, 37 assists in 60 games, an impressive total on a struggling team. He added 8 points in 6 playoff games. While he's not a particularly elite skill-driven player, he contributes on the score sheet by outworking his opponents, hounding puck carriers, battling in the corners and on the boards, digging for rebounds, and getting into the paint. That said, he brings a good playmaking game and finds opponents with quick reads after he wins the 50-50 puck battle from the dirty area. While he's no sniper, he can find the back of the net as well. His hands and zone entries aren't bad either. His two-way game is where he'll truly earn his paycheck, though. He's often the first man back, playing a responsible and effective center game, whether it's a crucial defensive end faceoff, penalty kill, or last minute of the game. He feels like a prospect who will continuously step up to the plate. Of course, we're talking about a two-way 15th overall pick. There's still work to be done. While his 6-foot frame is not small per se, adding muscle to his frame would be a massive benefit to his game. While his physical game and strength against his peers stand out, the jump to the professional ranks can always put youngsters in their place. While he shows flashes of skill, which show up in the form of highlight reel moments, his offensive game isn't likely to be his go-to calling card once he hits the big leagues. His offensive contributions may cap in and around the 70-point plateau. Finally, Cootes' skating, although agile, is also a work in progress. While he moves with hustle and shows bursts of agility, his top-end speed and edge work need refinement to compete at the NHL level. With ample time to grow, those are all small areas which the development staff will work with immediately. The Canucks' decision to draft Cootes hits several areas on the head, whether it's his never-quit attitude, his two-way maturity, or the simple fact that he's a right-shot center. It's a profile that the Canucks' system was in desperate need. Under new head coach Adam Foote, Vancouver will likely play an aggressive game that demands relentless forechecking and defensive responsibility, and Cootes bring those in spades. If you're looking for a comparable, a former Canucks captain comes to mind. Like Bo Horvat, Cootes leaves everything on the ice and plays with a strong two-way passion. We could envision him following a similar path, starting as a third-line energy center with penalty kill duties and growing into a second-line role if his offensive game blossoms. And like Horvat, there is a reasonable assumption that he could wear a letter one day. Again, this is a 15th overall pick who is still likely 2 to 3 years out from being in NHL conversations. His immediate focus will be on adding to his offensive ability while adding strength, which is crucial for translating his physical style to the professional level. For Canucks fans, Cootes represents a safe yet exciting pick. He carries a very safe floor, third-line center, and is likely guaranteed to play NHL games. So that is Braeden Cootes. Obviously, the comparison to Bo Horvat is quite interesting. And I'll admit, having done that video, what was it, a month ago now, talked about him as a potential option. That was when I really started kind of taking notice of him, having read that article and, seeing what he's done in the WHL. And of course, having read this and hearing about, his maturity, hearing that, him being compared to a guy like Bo Horvat, somebody who I loved as a Canucks fan, and still to this day, have a lot of appreciation for a guy like Bo. And just to hear that this is a essential, perhaps, Bo Horvat 2.0, obviously hopefully he's not completely compared to, or a, okay, I don't want to say clone of Bo Horvat, but if that is the direction that Braeden Cootes is going in, that he's going to be like Bo Horvat, hopefully they don't, one day trade Cootes, and then the team that he gets traded for, hopefully we don't hear him say, "I'll tell you that for free." Sorry, just a little sly little joke. Figured I'd throw that in there, but hearing his maturity and the fact that at this point, having only just drafted him, that they see him as a potential future captain of this team is huge. And again, the fact that he's a right shot center is something that the Canucks desperately need. And all in all, I am very pleased with this pick. I'm very pleased that they picked Cootes. Obviously, as I've mentioned, I'm disappointed that they were not able to use the first round pick in order to get a second line center. Obviously, with them having used their draft pick, it's going to be even more difficult to acquire a center to fill that huge hole that has been left by JT Miller. But obviously, perhaps they still have a plan. The weekend is not over yet. And Patrick Allvin did say during the draft that they're still looking. Obviously, no trades really were made during day one of the draft, except for the New York Islanders trading Noah Dobson to the Montreal Canadiens. That was the only trade, at least player trade. So we still have the rest of this weekend, and of course, free agency being on Tuesday. So perhaps over the next few days, we very well could have our second line center. But at the end of the day, we got a lot of people are also calling the Canucks drafting Cootes as a potential steal of the draft. So that is obviously very exciting to hear. But I want to know what you guys think about Braeden Cootes being drafted by the Vancouver Canucks in the first round with their 15th overall pick. Do you guys like the selection? Did you guys wish they had picked maybe Victor Eklund? Do you guys wish they had maybe drafted Cole Reshney? Like, I was a big believer of Cole Reshney. Obviously, Cole Reshney ended up going 18th overall. I believe he went to, Calgary. But at the end of the day, we ended up drafting Braeden Cootes, a guy who the Canucks had their eye on, all season long, this entire time. He was the only guy that they spoke to at the combine. They took him out for dinner, and it seemed like they were dead set on drafting Braeden Cootes. But again, I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about them using the pick and perhaps improving their future. Also, could you guys see Braeden Cootes being a future captain of the Vancouver Canucks? And do you guys agree with the comparison to Bo Horvat? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Once again, on Spotify, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. It is greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for this video. Let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.